Hello and welcome to FPL Mate, your best mate for fantasy Premier League content for the 2022-23 season. My name is Dan, and although Game Week 11 hasn't quite finished, it's already time to start thinking about Game Week 12, considering the deadline is on Tuesday. So yes, the dreaded Game Week 12 is here with the blanks. Hopefully we're going to help you out a little bit over the next couple of days with some different videos to help you navigate it all. If you do enjoy these kind of videos, please do leave a like. It really does help out the channel so much, and do subscribe if you're new around here as well. But let's get on with it. Okay, so very quickly, buys are players you probably don't have but should consider bringing in. Sells are players you probably have but should consider removing. Keeps are players that you might be thinking about removing. I think you should keep them. And avoids are players that are pretty hyped up right now, but I think you should potentially avoid them because they could be trapped and they could go terribly, terribly wrong. But there we go. Let's get on with some buys, I suppose. Alright, the first buy for today is going to be Bobby Firmino. Now, I know a lot of you guys are looking forward to some Liverpool players. You probably don't want to spend that money on Salah, given his consistency and his form and stuff like that. But one player who has been in fantastic form has actually been Firmino. And he actually comes in at a slightly cheaper price than the likes of Nunez and Jota as well. And he's been in much better form than them as well. Not just in the Premier League, but also in the Champions League, scoring a lot of goals. So I do feel like, as long as he gets some minutes, and he should get at least a decent amount of minutes, he should be consistently scoring, getting assists. Like the stats you see on screen, by the way, guys, don't even include his, what was it, a hat-trick and 2 assists or something like that against Bournemouth. That was in Game Week 4, so that's not even considered in the stats you're seeing in front of you. His Champions League performances where he's been scoring goals are not included in these statistics. He's doing phenomenally well, really, really well, and I think he is going to find himself fairly nailed on. Now, obviously, with the injury to Luis Diaz, that does mean that these attacking players are going to have a little bit more game time, you would say. Like, there's less risk attached to them. I know people are probably going to say, well, maybe Jota is the most nailed on because he's going to be maybe the only guy available to play left wing, but I don't know if that's necessarily true. Darwin Nunez can play out on the left, and also, you know, we've got Carvalho there as well. Salah is still the most nailed on, but I have to say, Firmino is surely the form that he's given and how much Liverpool really need the results right now, particularly over these games. It has to be Firmino playing pretty much every single game. So West Ham, I have to admit, is not the easiest fixture in the world. After that, though, we do have Nottingham Forest and we've got Leeds, which are 2 really nice fixtures. And I think that Firmino is probably the best, in my opinion, Liverpool attacker to go for right now. And I never thought I'd be saying that at the beginning of the season, but life comes at you fast. Things change very quickly, and we've got to adapt to this new information. And the new information is saying, Bobby Firmino, si senor. Alright, here's another buy for you. Now, I know a lot of you guys are going to be looking to bench some of your Man City and Arsenal players potentially this game week, which means you're going to have to try and field a full 11 with players who are usually your bench players. And therefore, you're probably going to have the likes of Patterson, who is injured. You're going to have Emerson, who is really, really rotation risk. And you're going to have the likes of Nico Williams. Although he did start in Game Week 11, I think that actually makes him less likely to start in Game Week 12, if I'm honest. Maybe I'm being a bit pessimistic there. But yeah, I would say that here's a potential sell. And you've got Webster here, who is 4.5 million, and he arguably has the best fixture of any defenders, and he's a reasonably cheap defender as well. And he's been doing quite well on the bonus point system points. I've kind of talked about that last week a little bit. And, you know, he's actually proving to be a slightly better attacking threat than the likes of Lewis Dunk as well. He's less rotation risk than Estupinian. He's less likely to get, like, cards and stuff. And the Veltman, who has been, you know, not performing quite as well as, you know, the likes of Webster and Dunk. And Webster is only 4.5, so he's a little bit cheaper than those other guys as well. So all in all, I still do feel like Webster is the best, you know, cheap defender to go for right now. And admittedly, it would kind of only be for Game Week 12. You wouldn't play him in Game Week 13. You wouldn't play him in Game Week 14. You would possibly play him in Game Week 15, though, against Wolves. So I do think there is some opportunity here to get him in. Don't expect to play him every week, but he could really help to bail you out of certain situations that you might find yourself in Game Week 12. In many ways, because of his low price and fantastic fixture, I do feel like he could be a really, really good solution to a lot of the problems that you are going to have in Game Week 12 if you're looking for that cheap defender to come in and just try and score you some points for one game week only. Right, sells guys, Reece James is a priority. Like I always say, I don't like to put injured players in this category, but I know that we've got a real unique situation this game week where the sells are kind of sell themselves, if that makes any sense. Like, if you've got a load of Arsenal and Man City players, maybe you're going to sell one of them to try and get some players that actually play in Game Week 12. If you've got those Liverpool players like Trent Alexander-Arnold or Luis Diaz still in your team, or maybe you've still got Isak in your team, I don't know. Those guys are all injured, obviously, so they're players you're going to have to transfer out. But we have received news today, so I thought I might update you guys on this, that Reece James has, in fact, it looks like he's going to be out for around 2 months. So he's not even going to be available before the World Cup break, where we get unlimited transfers anyway. So pretty much, there's no point in having Reece James. He's just occupying, and wasting a slot in your squad at the moment. He's a really expensive defender, and even at the best of times, these expensive defenders don't score us points. He's been a bit of a disaster in FPL terms, I suppose, hasn't he? So I think it's time to sell him. Just get rid of him and try and find someone else who can actually play and actually score you some points this game week. Webster could be potentially the answer. Kieran Trippier's got a decent fixture as well. Some of the other Newcastle defenders, if you've not got too many Newcastle defenders or / goalkeepers already, maybe you can go in there somewhere. But yeah, overall, just make sure you're selling James, because it's just no point in having him right now. There really isn't, particularly the problems we're going to have in 12 anyway. And the next sell is Maddison. So again, another reasonably obvious one, but I thought I would put him in just because I know not everyone will know this. But because Maddison got his 5th yellow card of the season, which is quite crazy in itself. He's not usually a player who gets that many yellow cards, but he has got 5 yellow cards this season, which means he is going to be suspended for Game Week 12. So I know the problems really are mounting up a little bit, aren't they? There seems to be more and more problems in Game Week 12. It's becoming more and more of a disaster game week as time goes on. Some of you guys may find yourself in favourable positions where we've planned quite well for this situation. Maybe you've got a couple of free transfers, but if not, then we're going to be in bad trouble. But yeah, Maddison is a player I have. He's going to be a player I'm going to be selling this game week to try and find someone else to kind of replace him. The likes of players like, I don't know, Zaha, Bowen still look good. Trossard for a 1-week punt potentially, before moving on to maybe someone like Phil Foden. These all kind of work for me. They sound pretty good to me, but there's obviously some differentials you could go for there as well. But overall, if Maddison's not going to be available for the Leeds at home game, and then he's got Wolves away, Man City at home, even Everton away, I don't think is an amazing fixture either. It might actually be time to move Maddison on. We can't afford to have another player missing in Game Week 12, basically. So I think he is one for the bin. Let's get on to some slightly less obvious players, I suppose. Let's try and surprise you a little bit more with the rest of the picks in the video. Okay, so my first keep is going to be Erling Haaland. Now, this is an interesting one. Yes, he blanks in Game Week 12. I can see already by the statistics that a lot of people are shipping out Haaland. And I wanted to use this video as a word of warning for those of you guys thinking about selling Haaland. Because I know a lot of people may be trying to bring in Kane, for example, because, a premium who actually plays in Game Week 12 is just an absolute godsend at the moment by the seams of things. But yeah, Haaland, if you bought him at, 11.5 million, and you sell him for, and you don't have money in the bank after you sell him, then you're not going to be able to buy him back. This is how it works. When you sell a player, you only pocket half of the profit. So say you bought him at 11.5. What's halfway between 12.2 and 11.5? That's 0.7 million, right? So that would mean that you would sell Haaland for 11.8 million. And if you wanted to buy him back again after that, after you sold him for 11.8, you'd have to buy him back for 12.2. So you would lose 0.4 million in team value, and you would have to make sure you had that 0.4 million in the bank ready to transfer him back in again. So that is just, I guess, a word of warning to you guys. If you do sell Haaland, you are going to have to make sure you have plenty of money in the bank to buy him back again. I would just say keep him, to be honest, because he's one of those players who you know for a fact that you are going to want him back in Game Week 13. Like, there's no getting away from that. So this is why I'm saying he's a keep. Like, some players, like, I don't know, maybe Saliba, maybe, like, arguably Martinelli, like, potentially, I don't know, maybe, like, Cancelo, like, some of these other players, like, Kevin De Bruyne, for example. Some of these other players, you can sell them for Game Week 12, and you can be like, okay, I don't have to get him back straight away in Game Week 13. I don't think Haaland is that at all. I think he's, out of all of the players who blank in 12, he's the one guy who you are 100% going to want to get back in Game Week 13. So, in a way, it's going to cost you 2 transfers to remove him and put him back in again. If you count each transfer to the value of about 4 points, because it's a -4 if you want to take an additional transfer, right? So if you count each transfer as a -4, that means it's costing you 8 points to remove Haaland and bring it back in again, and you lose all of the value you have tied up in him as well. It just, in general, seems like a very bad move. So I would just bench him. I would just take the L for one game week. I think you will find yourself better off long term. Maybe you won't be all smiles in game week 12, but after that, I think you'll be absolutely fine. I think you'll be really glad with your decision. So for me, keep Haaland. My next keep is actually going to be Pascal Gross. This is a kind of an interesting one. I think because Brighton have such a nice fixture, I'd be inclined to just keep any Brighton player, really, or any regularly starting Brighton player. I know a lot of you guys are invested in Brighton, and I also know that a lot of people are still selling Pascal Gross, and I don't really understand why. It's difficult because, in a way, this week in FPL, like every player that actually has a fixture, you probably just want to keep them. You don't want to sell them at all because any points, 2 points just for playing is going to be, you know, worth so much compared to the zeros that a lot of your other slots are going to be getting. So any player who plays pretty much, I would be keeping, really. Pascal Gross I would keep in particular because he's got a great fixture, and like he is still in those really attacking, really dangerous areas in this Brighton side. He's still like playing as like a second striker almost. So I do feel like there's still lots of scope to get him. He's on set pieces, on a lot of set pieces we've seen as well, which is very, very nice. I think he actually could do something against Nottingham Forest. Like genuinely, I think he could be a really nice differential at this point. So I would be keeping him, and in general, I would be keeping any player that actually has a fixture and who you know is going to start, particularly those who have fairly favourable fixtures. Selling someone like Gross is just way too luxury. You don't want to be doing that. Finally, some avoids. Let's start you off with Anthony. Bad fixtures, basically. Spurs, Chelsea away, West Ham. Like I kind of said earlier, West Ham I just feel like West Ham is a bad fixture right now. They are literally, when you look at the statistics, one of the best defences in the league, which I know surprises you because when you think of West Ham, they're low down in the table, so they must be doing badly. But defensively, they've actually been doing fine, only kind of conceding like 1 goal a game kind of thing, which is pretty decent. And when you're picking attackers, you want to hopefully have some decent, opportunities for some attacking returns. Like the ceiling should be reasonably higher, and the ceiling just does not look too high in these games. Anthony would literally have to get 2 goal contributions out of 2, assuming there is 2 available in these games, which is difficult to say. I also feel like he's probably not the right direction. I know a lot of you guys are going to be selling the likes of MADDISON, right? Probably, or Martinelli, or maybe you're selling Foden, or maybe you're selling De Bruyne. I don't know, but the problem is with that is that you're probably going to want all of them back. You're going to want to get a Foden in game week 13. You're going to want to get a Martinelli, or make sure you have a Martinelli in game week 13. You're going to probably try and be getting these players, / getting these players back. And if that's the case, then you're going to be taking Anthony in and out again pretty quickly. And you're going to be taking him in and out again in a situation where he's got bad fixtures. So it's maybe slightly better to go for someone with a much more favourable fixture if you're going to go for that really, really short-term punt. And if you don't want to go for a short-term punt, Jared Bowen, Wilf Zaha, these are kind of players that I think I would be more inclined to go for at a similar kind of price. So yeah, in my opinion, if you are looking to go for that short-term player, Anthony is not the one. Like Trossard is probably the the 1 game week punt to go for in game week 12 in the midfield kind of position. Aside from that, there's not really too much. Like there's a few more, but Anthony would not be one of them, not against Spurs. And the final avoid is going to be Eric Dyer. Another clean sheet for him, and that's going to make a lot of people say, I really want to get in on this Spurs defence, but again, it's with defenders, it's often about boats and whether you're missing the boats or catching the boats. And I think you may have missed the boats. I look at these next 4 fixtures really, and how many clean sheets are we looking at here? Like Bournemouth, yeah, fair enough, get a clean sheet there. But away against Man United, Newcastle have been scoring goals, a lot of goals recently as well. Then we've got that Liverpool game, and Liverpool have been scoring goals as well. So I have to wonder how many clean sheets are available here. And a player like Eric Dyer, who is not an attacking player per se, is going to really rely on those clean sheets to get his points and to get his bonus points as well. Are these clean sheets available? And even if they are, is he worth 5.2 million, right? Is he, compared to some of the other defenders that you could potentially go for, who are much, much cheaper, like maybe Crystal Palace defenders, for example, who are much cheaper than Dyer, they definitely have better fixtures, probably got just as much, if not better chance of getting those clean sheet points and therefore the bonus points as well. And and they're significantly cheaper. So it doesn't really make sense to me to go for Eric Dyer right now. I know you're probably going to say, oh, well, he scored a bunch of points in the last 2 game weeks, but I really want to encourage you guys to look forward and look to see who's going to get points in the future, because any points in the past, they are in the past. You don't have access to them now. Predict the future. Don't just use the past. Like, anyone could just pick the player that scored well last game week and say, oh, they must be scoring well next game week. Especially with defenders, I'm a real big advocate of fixtures over form when it comes to defenders, particularly those defenders that aren't really prone to getting attacking returns like Dyer. So yeah, for me, he's an avoid alongside probably all of the other Spurs defenders. I think there could probably be a little bit of rotation among the wing backs as well. So yeah, I don't think it's looking good for Spurs defenders over the next couple of game weeks. I'd rather go elsewhere, I think. Quick conclusion, guys. So, yeah, it's probably going to be pretty simple or what kind of players you want to remove. You're going to want to remove the likes of Maddison and Reece James. Like, those are real obvious players to remove. And those anyone who's got an injury, basically, and any player who you don't think is going to start, these are going to be the kind of players you want to remove. I think it's kind of up to you which Man City and Arsenal players you want to remove, but I would particularly keep HAALAND, and I would probably keep Martinelli as well. Maybe one defender as well. I think if you've got the likes of Andreas on your bench, I think that's absolutely fine. He's shown over the last couple of game weeks he can get FPL points, so I don't think you need to worry too much about that. Also, if you notice on screen, it says James Maddison. Like, those are 2 separate players. I'm not just talking about one player, James Maddison. But yeah, anyway, yeah, sell the players that are injured and are less likely to play before you sell the players who play for Man City and Arsenal. I would try and keep as many of them as possible whilst trying to get 9 players, 10 players on the pitch. I think if you can get to 10 players, 10 playing players, even if they're crap, as long as they are playing and they're available and they're playing, I think 10 players will be enough for you in game week 12. And even if you don't do well in game week 12, like, you're going to be laughing in game week 13 when you've got all of your players who were on your bench last week ready to come straight back in. So try and treat this in a kind of 2 game week period in a way. I'll stop waffling on now. Thanks so much for watching, guys. If you did enjoy this video, please do leave a like. Please do subscribe as well if you're new around here, because I've got quite a lot of content coming out for Game Week 12. I'm going to work really hard over the next couple of days to try and give you all of the kind of resources that you might perhaps need. I'm going to do a free hit video as well. That's coming, I hope, tomorrow, really. And we're going to do a couple of more videos. We're going to do my team selection. We're going to do a transfer tier list as well. And we'll do a couple of streams. We'll definitely do a deadline stream. We'll try and squeeze in a strategy stream as well. So loads to pack in over the next couple of days. But hopefully it's going to really set you up really nicely. And that's my hope anyway. So yeah, thanks so much for watching, guys. Once again, hopefully see you on tomorrow's video. And I will see you later, mates. Bye-bye.